Okay, so what I'm going to do is give you a brief introduction as to what FME Server actually is for those that haven't used it before, and then we're going to have a look at some of the functionality that's new in the product this year. First things first, I want to introduce you to a new product we have called FME in the Cloud. So this is, it's not yet out, but it's coming up very soon. You can go to the website and register. But this essentially enables you to run FME Server that you currently have to download, install locally on your local server. You can log into a website and launch as many FME servers as you want, and we manage and maintain the FME server. So it's a big shift away from how you've been working with FME Server before, because you've had to, apply patches, look after the backups. If the server crashes, you have to look after it. And you have to invest in the hardware as well. So it's a big commitment for your organization to buy FME Server. You have to basically hire someone to look after it, and you also have to have the hardware. So hopefully this is going to dramatically lower the barriers for you to be able to get started with FME Server, launch as many FME servers as you want. That's the other key difference right there, is it's going to be on-demand pricing. So rather than paying upfront for FME Server, you can basically rent the FME Server on an hourly basis. So you'll pay for each FME Server that you launch in the cloud. So we're really excited about this. We think it's going to lower the barriers of entry, so you can get into our enterprise technology easier. And we think it's also going to offer huge value in terms of saving you costs and working with the service. So I'm just going to show you a quick demo. Okay, it really does like to jump back to VGA mode, but that's fine. So you can see, this is the website here. You can go to fmecloud.com, so this goes for everyone online as well. And you can see you can just enter your email here to get on the beta list. And we'll actually email you, once we're starting to roll this out to the general public. You can't actually log in or sign up yet. But what I want to show you is launching an FME server. So I am actually logged in here. And so these are all of the instances I've launched throughout the World Tour. You can see I have one instance running here already. So what we're going to do is launch an instance now during the presentation. So I should be able to go new instance. Let's call it Vancouver. WT. So this could be, a use case here. We already use this internally. Staging, production, development. 3 separate servers, 1 for each environment. We have West Coast, East Coast, and Central servers running on our other account. You can choose the instance type here, so medium and large. This is the size of the machine that will actually start up when you launch. So the medium instance comes with 2 FME engines on it, and the large with 4 FME engines. This is all very early days, so things may change, but we want basically this to be as flexible as we can for you. So I click Launch Instance Now, and you can see now that instance is provisioning, and so it takes about 9 minutes to launch the FME server, and then once the FME server is launched, you never have to do this again. You just do it once for each FME server, and then you have a fully working FME server. And as you can see there, you can terminate an instance whenever you want as well. So, say you had a processing job you wanted to do, and you have a huge amount of data you want to process, you could bring up an FME server in the cloud, you could run it for 24 hours, do your work, and then shut down the FME instance running. The other thing is we have a PostGIS database for you up there as well, so you can load your data into that local database. Okay. A lot of the questions around the cloud I mainly got when I was on the road was to do with security. Oh, our organization can't use this. We're worried about security. But from my perspective, obviously, you're going to centralize everything with us. So we're going to make sure that service is secure to as best our efforts. But we're leveraging Amazon's architecture. Amazon have hired hundreds of the best people in the world to work on security. So, we're going to leverage their technology. I personally think Amazon's security is a lot better than security itself, just because, they've got the top people in the world working on it. So, that's maybe still a concern for you, but you can discuss that with us if you do have any, worries about that. But from our perspective, it's a safe thing. The other thing is with the cloud is, if you have an FME server locally that you want to open up to the public, well, you're going to still have to open a tunnel up, into your organization to let people access that FME server. By putting that in the cloud, what you actually do is say, okay, we're going to put the FME server here in the cloud, and then rather than having to come in through your organization and open a tunnel up, you can just let people connect to AWS. So from some aspects, it's almost more secure than having it internally as well. Anyway, okay, so let's talk about what FME Server actually is for those that are not familiar with the product. So FME Server is our enterprise product. It's a scalable platform that basically allows you to do flexible data transformation tasks and loading services. So FME Server uses exactly the same technology as desktop. So all those workspaces you built, these hugely complicated PDF generation workspaces you've built, you can put those on the cloud and onto FME Server locally as well. There's no change in workflows here. What we essentially do is currently you're probably doing something like this. This is Don's infamous slide from many years ago, but it's still relevant. You're running at the moment, probably in your organization, FME desktop locally. So you've built your workspaces, you've committed the time, and you're running the workspaces locally. That's fine, that has good value. But the first thing you can do is take those workspaces and push them up to FME Server. So number one, we're centralizing everything. So often with an FME Server, it's on a bigger machine, a more powerful machine. So the first thing is your workspaces are likely going to run faster. The second thing with centralizing is there's a lot of tools on FME Server that help you manage your workspaces. So there's log files that are interactive so you can see if a job's failed or succeeded. There's scheduling, so you can schedule a workspace to run every day, every minute, every week. It's completely flexible. There's also job queuing. So on FME Server, we have this concept of FME engines. For each FME engine you can have as many as you want. You can run FME processes concurrently. So if you had 10 engines, it would be like having 10 desktops all running at the same time. So what you can do is schedule 100 jobs to all run at once. They'll be sent to FME Server. All of the queuing manages the jobs and assigns them to FME engines when they become available. So it's much better for dealing with like high load scenarios and any scenario where you want to basically scale over multiple engines as well. So that's kind of centralizing your data transformation. The next thing you can do is create services out of those workspaces. So this is a huge value of FME Server. Let's take a scenario. You have a database, a corporate database, with all of your data in that database. Could be Oracle, could be SQL Server, it doesn't matter. So what you want to do is allow the end user to basically extract data out of that database in a certain format, in a certain projection, in a certain area. So in FME Desktop, if we just had that, the user would have to start FME Desktop, maybe use prompt and run, and they'd kind of have to be a GIS expert. They'd need to know where to click, and they would open Desktop locally, click Run, and choose, shape and NAD83 or whatever you want, and the data will be downloaded locally. So that's okay, but they still need a license there. They still need to use FME Desktop, and they kind of need to know what they're doing in there as well. You need to know your way around. So let's take that same workflow and we register it with it's called a data download service. It's data distribution service with FME Server. So the end workflow this time is, rather than the user having to know FME Desktop, it's just a web page. So they go to a web page, they say, oh, okay, I want the data in shape, I want the data in Texas State Plain, and I want the data for this area. Click order, and then they get the data emailed to them. So you can see there, that's a service. We've built a web service, and we've wrapped the workspace around that. And it makes it much easier. You don't have to code anything to enable that workflow. That's built into the product. So let's see what other services come with the product. So that's kind of the data distribution service. The data streaming service is very similar. The data streaming service essentially, rather than the user downloading the data, so data in a corporate database, you want the user to basically stream the data out. So let's say you have Google Maps and you want to put data on top. you would use the data streaming service. Google Earth, and you want to overlay data, you'd stream the data. So it's a good way to create an endpoint out of your corporate database or your disparate data sets so that you can overlay or mash data up into other applications, stream the data. Upload and validation, we saw that this morning with SyncAD. So this is a way for basically, through a web page, people can upload the data that they want to have QA'd, and you can have any QA workspace on the back end that you've built in the workspace, any business rules that you want. So the file's uploaded, the workspace runs, and then it sends the user back a report or whatever you want saying this has failed, or if it's successful, you can load it in. So centralization, we talked about, notification service. So we'll talk a little bit about this in a minute, but this is what you saw with Don and Dale this morning, processing all the real-time events with CN this morning as well. Really, FME Server has dramatically expanded in scope, and it's much, much more powerful this year. So let's take a look now. I've explained a bit, hopefully, what FME Server is. What's new in FME Server 2013? So the first thing is a completely new web interface. So I won't go into too much detail here, but for those that had FME Server previously, the main thing is previously we had a user area and an admin area, and we made the decisions about what went in each. So we said, oh, scheduling is an admin task. We're going to put that in the admin area. Configuring notifications is an admin task. We're going to put that in that area. But really, who are we to make that decision? So what we've done now is we have one area where you log in now, single sign-on, and it's all permissions-based. So the admin can say, well, Stuart can set notifications and schedules, but Steve, my teammate, he can log in with his user details, but he's not allowed to see anything. He can just run workspaces. So that's the main difference there. It's all on a nice HTML5 framework now as well, so it's a much nicer end-user experience with drag and drop and things like that. So that's a huge improvement for both you as a GIS user and for the end user as well, actually. The other thing is single sign-on's been added this time around for SP2, I believe. So we had single sign-on last year, but now with FME Server 2013 SP2, what you can actually do is it has pass-through authentication. So let's say you configure Active Directory with FME Server, which basically means if you are within your Windows login and you try access FME Server, what happens is FME Server takes your credentials and it will auto-log you in if you're right and if the permissions are good. So you don't even have to enter any username or password, which was a user-driven feature, basically. People were after that. So yeah, Active Directory support, again, for Active Directory you can configure at the group level, so you can say this group of people have access to these things, this group of people have access to these things. It just makes it a lot easier, otherwise you have to manage your Active Directory users and your FME Server users, which is a little bit more work. Okay, so let's talk about the notification service again. So Don and Dale touched on this morning. So there's a lot of buzz around the notification service. You know, it's the latest thing in the product. There's a lot of power there. There's a lot of different cool demos flying around. What I want to try and do is kind of try and address and apply the notification service to a more traditional workflow. So a workflow that you guys can relate to, hopefully. And because I think the notification service, we do call it that, but it's a lot more powerful than that. You'll see with the protocols in a minute. It's really a different way of interacting with FME Server. And we think it's really, really powerful. So we have this diagram here. We have the sending applications on the left. That could be something like an email application or something like that. We have the publications with all the protocols on. And so you send an email in. The email forwards a request to a topic. The topic has an FME Server, FME Workspace listening. The FME Workspace takes in the data that was emailed in, runs the workspace, and then you can send notifications out. So you're going to see this is it's like a big jigsaw piece, and you can plug everything together to achieve what you want, hopefully. So let's have a look at a nice simple scenario, data transformation by email. So you're out in the field and you're doing some surveying, you're collecting some data. You collect your data and we make it easy for you. We don't want to make you go to a web page and upload. We just give you an email address. Just email the data at this email address. So you attach your CAD data to the email, and then you email that file to the address we gave you, which is actually, it's sending the email straight to FME Server. This is no code here. This is all out of the box. FME Server takes the email, strips the contents of the email out, it strips any data off the email, and it passes it to the workspace. The workspace then runs, processes the data, and then it sends whatever it wants out back. So you could send an SMS, you could send another email, you could stream data somewhere, you could upload data to an FTP. So you can see there's a huge amount of flexibility there. It's quite a traditional workflow, and you probably would have done this through a web form before, but we want to make it easier for you to get data into FME Server. Just as they did 20 years almost ago, 15 years ago in FME, they did this by adding more and more formats. We want to do the same for FME Server, but with protocols. Okay, so let's give you a quick demo here. Okay, apologies for the resolution here, let's have a look. Okay, so we have this simple demo here, and what we have done is we're going to do the last scenario. So we're out in the field, and we have been surveying, and we have got our data set now. So we're going to try email the data to FME Server. And, okay, so I'm going to email this file to FME Server. So this email address here was created by FME Server, cad_waterqa@demo.fmeserver.com. I'm going to send this file at FME Server. So FME Server is going to take that file in, pass the CAD file to a workspace, and we're going to perform QA on that file. So we're going to check for if we're surveying pipes here, sorry I forgot to say. So we've surveyed some pipes, and we have business rule. The pipe must have a diameter value on it. So I don't want it in the Oracle database unless it's got a diameter attribute on it. I don't want any bad geometry in that Oracle database either, so I'm checking for self-intersection geometry and things like that. So we can see here this translation's failed. Okay, so let's see why. So we use the XML templater in this workspace to actually produce a little report here. And so we can see it actually tells us, you know, this feature here had invalid diameter on it. We're using the Google Static Maps API to produce these images. And if we scroll down, you can see here invalid geometry. So if I scroll across here, can you see this one has self-intersecting geometry? So we've no code here, all in FME. This has all been done in FME here, including sending the email back. Okay, so we've gone back out in the field. We've got instant feedback as to what's wrong with the data. So now I can go here, and this time I'm going to try good data. So data v2. I'm going to attach the file, and the good one, I've got to get the right one. Okay, so this time what we're going to do, the data should pass, so we're actually going to load it into Oracle. So if we come to this map here and watch, so this time the data's going to pass, it's going to load into Oracle, and what we've done is hooked Oracle up using FME Server via WebSockets to the browser. So you can see as soon as that data gets loaded into Oracle, basically what we have is we have a trigger set up on Oracle, and Oracle basically takes all the data that's coming in, gives it to FME Server, and then FME Server streams it to the browser using WebSockets. So we did cheat a little bit on this one. We used another piece of technology called Pusher, which plugs into FME Server, but next year we will have WebSockets. Probably not allowed to say this, but I'm going to anyway. We're going to have WebSockets in 2014, so we'll be able to do this without any code or without any other services, which we're really excited about. It's kind of like the next generation of data streaming. You saw how fast it was, 388 features in a second, and that was the actual data I emailed at FME Server. Okay, so I just want to quickly talk you through the workflow of what we did there. So the sending application was Gmail. I sent an email with the CAD data onto the topic. The topic had an FME Server workspace listening. The workspace ran the translation. In the first instance, it failed, so I sent an email back to the receiving application, which was Gmail. I could have sent a Google push. I could have sent a JMS Java message stream. I could have sent an Apple push. You see how I can plug everything together here? completely flexible. The second workflow, I sent an email with CAD data on. It went to the topic. This time it got loaded into Oracle somewhere else. So then what happened is Oracle actually became the sending application. I had a trigger in Oracle and I sent HTTP post. I pushed the data to FME Server. FME Server then took the data and let's say it sent the data out via WebSockets to the receiving application, which was Google Chrome. So we can get pretty powerful here by plugging all these things together. And just with formats with FME, these are just going to increase. We're going to support more and more of these protocols. And with all those sensors out there, it's going to be a great way to interact with your data. Okay, a quick note about the FME Server migration strategy. So for those of you that have tried to do an upgrade of FME Server before, apologies for that, but we've made it much better now. Basically before what you had to do was a lot of manual steps. Even if you wanted to move from 2012 SP1 to 2012 SP3, we didn't bring anything across, we just brought the workspaces basically. Now I'm excited to announce from 2013 going forward, it's very, very easy for you to do a migration. So if you migrate from SP1 to SP2, we bring across the repositories, security, notifications, all of the services, all of the schedules. So anything you configure in the web interface comes across. We're going to be using this for our own cloud stuff, so it's going to be heavily tested and it works really well. Okay, so let's get back to the cloud. Did we manage to launch an FME server in less than 10 minutes? It should have taken 9 minutes. Let's have a look. This is the moment of truth. Okay, so there we see now, Vancouver WT is running. I can go here. And you can see the URL, hopefully, Vancouver WT, which is the server name, Stuart-Harper, which is my account name, and then just the generic FME Cloud URL. So, apologies, the internet's a bit slow here, but here we go. Here's our FME server. So what's our login? Well, obviously, we don't want to do the traditional admin username password. So what we do is we allow you to download the credentials once for that server. So you can download the credentials, and you can see here there's a big long hash password. We don't even store this on the server. It's only, basically just gone now. So we can log in, and we should, when we log in, see that we have a 2-engine FME server running, and it's ready for you to go. You can now upload workspaces to this server. You can start sending and receiving notifications. The email, all the email stuff's configured for you. And you're going to pay per usage. And so let's say, okay, I've had enough, I've done my work, simply click terminate, and then you'll stop being billed for this, and that's the end. Okay, so yeah, that's kind of an introduction to the FME Cloud. The other thing we've actually been working on is logging in the web browser as well, so I think I've got time to quickly show you this. But obviously, we need to let you have out the log files, and at the moment, they're all on the server. So what we've done is, it's actually an open source product we're using, but if you can see here, you can select these. If I can select these tiny. I can select all of the log files, basically, and then what should happen when I come here, so if I refresh this page here, you can see any interaction in the FME server in any of the log files is actually streamed to this page. So I can go here, and let's try run a job here. Let's run this one. Doesn't matter if it fails. But we can go in here, and you can see the translation being run, and you can see the translation being run there. And you can also see any errors. And it's really good because you can select all the log files. You could just do something like send one notification, and then rather than having to look through all the log files, you just come in here and say, oh, it's in this log file, and it shows up in the stream. So this at the moment is only for FME Cloud, but who knows what might happen next year in FME Server 2014, so watch this space. Okay, so a lot to take in there. I just want to say we do an FME Server monthly webinar. My colleague Steve does it every month. It's a 1-hour deep dive, completely free. We'll take you into a little bit more detail on FME Server. So if anyone has any more interest, then I'd strongly suggest that you attend that monthly webinar. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, so yeah, our FME cloud is built on top of AWS, which is Amazon's Amazon Web Services. So at the moment, the servers are in America, but what we plan on doing is when you launch that server, you'll be able to choose a region. And so any Amazon region, you will be able to choose. I think there's one in Europe, a couple in America, Asia. I don't think Canada has one yet, but obviously we're going to let Amazon build that architecture, so I'm sure they'll have one in time.